The massive holographic display flickered to life in the center of New Geneva's Emergency Command Center. The image that materialized made every human in the room take a sharp breath. 12 alien faces stared down at them, each one representing a different species from across the galaxy. Their eyes held the cold indifference of beings who had ruled the stars for millennia. Species designation, human, the central figure spoke, its voice a mechanical translation that somehow carried the weight of absolute authority. You will comply with Galactic Ordinance 7749. Immediate cessation of all military development. Immediate surrender of all weapons technology. Immediate acceptance of protectorate status. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the center of the room, her weathered face betraying nothing as she faced the alien council. Around her, the best and brightest of humanity's military and scientific minds waited for her response. The silence stretched, like a taut wire. And if we refuse? Chen asked, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. The alien's expression didn't change, but somehow the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Refusal is not an option. The Zephyrian Collective learned this lesson 3 cycles ago. Their homeworld now serves as an asteroid field monument to the consequences of defiance. Dr. Marcus Webb, humanity's lead xenobiologist, stepped forward from the shadows at the back of the room. His usually neat appearance was disheveled, his eyes wide with the kind of fear that comes from truly understanding the scope of a threat. Admiral, I've run the projections. Their fleet, it's beyond anything we've ever imagined. We're talking about ships the size of continents, weapons that can crack planets in half. The lead alien council member, who had introduced itself as Hegemon Vex 9 of the Altanian Empire, leaned forward slightly. Dr. Webb speaks wisdom. Your species shows promise, but you are young, untested. The galaxy is dangerous, and you require our guidance. Submit willingly, and you will be preserved. Continue your current path, and you will share the fate of the 847 other species who chose poorly. Chen felt the weight of 8 billion human lives pressing down on her shoulders. Every person on Earth, every child playing in parks across the continents, every dreamer looking up at the stars, their future hung in the balance of her next words. How long do we have to decide? She asked. 72 of your Earth hours, Vex 9 replied. Use them wisely. The hologram vanished, leaving the command center in stunned silence. For a moment, no one moved. Then slowly the room erupted into frantic discussion. We have to consider their offer, General Harrison from the European Defense Force said, his voice tight with stress. The math is simple. We can't fight something like that. Submit to become slaves? Colonel Park from the Asian Union shot back. They're talking about the end of human independence, the end of human progress. We might as well be dead. Dr. Webb was already at his tablet, fingers flying across calculations. The energy signatures we detected from their scout ships alone. It's like comparing a candle to the sun. We're not just outgunned. We're not even playing the same game. But Admiral Chen wasn't listening to the arguments. She was thinking about her daughter Emma, who was stationed aboard the Defiance, humanity's most advanced warship, currently patrolling the outer solar system. She was thinking about all the young people who had joined the Space Defense Force, not to conquer or destroy, but to explore and protect. Dr. Webb, she said suddenly, cutting through the chatter. You said 847 species have refused them before us. That's correct, Admiral. And all of them were destroyed? Webb hesitated. Well, that's what they claimed. But Admiral, I've been thinking about something else. Why give us 72 hours? Why not just demand immediate compliance? Species that are truly helpless don't get deliberation time. The room fell quiet again. Chen felt a spark of something that might have been hope, or might have been the first flame of defiance. Elaborate, Doctor. Webb moved to the main display, bringing up a star chart of local space. Look at this. They didn't just show up in our system with an overwhelming force. They sent exactly one ship, admittedly massive, but still just one. And they're parked at the edge of our solar system, not in Earth orbit where they could glass our cities in minutes. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that maybe, just maybe, they're not as omnipotent as they want us to believe. Maybe. There's something about humanity, about our location, about our capabilities that makes them cautious. Colonel Park leaned forward. The Defiance and her sister ships are out there. They're not visible from the alien position because of Jupiter's gravitational shadow. If we needed to what? General Harrison interrupted. Start a war we can't win? Get our entire species wiped out? Chen held up a hand for silence. In her mind, she could hear her old mentor's voice from her academy days. Sometimes, Sarah, the only way to win is to make sure the other side knows they can't win without paying a price they're not willing to accept. Get me a secure channel to Captain Rodriguez on the Defiance, she ordered. And Dr. Webb, I want you to start analyzing everything we know about that alien ship. Power signatures, shield configurations, weapon systems, everything. Admiral, Webb said quietly, what are you thinking? Chen looked around the room at the faces of humanity's defenders. Some showed fear, others determination, but all of them were looking to her for leadership in humanity's darkest hour. Am I thinking that maybe it's time the galaxy learned something about human nature that the Galactic Council doesn't understand yet? Which is? Chen's smile was sharp as a blade. We don't negotiate from our knees. As the command center burst into renewed activity, none of them noticed the small observation drone that had been watching from the ventilation system. Its alien pilot, hidden in a cloaked scout ship beyond Mars, transmitted a brief message back to the Galactic Council fleet. The humans are not responding as expected. They show signs of defiance. In the depths of space, Hegemon Vex 9 received the message with something that might have been concern. In 847 previous encounters with developing species, the pattern had always been the same. Shock, fear, brief deliberation, submission. The humans were already deviating from the expected script. Perhaps it was time to remind them exactly what they were dealing with. Chapter 2. Fire in the Dark Captain. Elena Rodriguez had been in space long enough to know when something was wrong with the universe. Standing on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's most advanced warship, she watched the sensor readings with growing unease. The massive alien vessel sat at the edge of their solar system like a patient predator, its energy signature unlike anything in human records. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Jackson called from the communications station. We're receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Chen. Put it through. Chen's face appeared on the main screen, and Rodriguez could see the weight of impossible decisions etched in every line. Elena, I need you to listen carefully. We have 72 hours before the Galactic Council expects our surrender. Our what? Rodriguez felt her blood turn to ice. Complete submission. They want us to disarm, accept protection, and essentially become another client species in their empire. Chen's voice was steady, but Rodriguez could hear the anger beneath. The alternative, they claim, is extinction. Rodriguez looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. These were good people, scientists, explorers, defenders who had joined the Space Defense Force to push humanity's boundaries, not to fight alien empires. But she could see the same fire in their eyes that burned in her own chest. What are your orders, Admiral? I need intelligence. Everything you can gather about that ship, its capabilities, weaknesses, anything that might give us an edge if negotiations fail. And if negotiations succeed? Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then we become the first human generation to kneel to alien masters, and we pray that our children forgive us. Rodriguez felt her jaw clench. Understood, Admiral. We'll get you that intelligence. As the transmission ended, she turned to her crew. You heard the Admiral. I want full spectrum analysis of that alien vessel. Passive sensors only. I don't want them to know we're here until we're ready. Chief Science Officer Dr. Yuki Tanaka was already bent over her console. Captain, I'm reading energy patterns I've never seen before. Their power core. It's like they're harnessing a miniature star. What about defenses? Massive shield generators, but here's something interesting. They're not running at full power. It's like they're conserving energy? Rodriguez moved to the tactical station where Lieutenant Commander Marcus Steele was analyzing the alien ship's weapon systems. His dark skin was pale with concentration. "Tell me you have good news, Marcus." "Define good," he said grimly. "They have enough firepower to turn Earth into molten slag, but Captain, look at this." He highlighted sections of the alien ship on the tactical display. "These weapon arrays, they're designed for orbital bombardment, not ship-to-ship combat." Meaning? Meaning they're built to destroy defenseless planets, not fight other warships. It's like bringing a sledgehammer to a sword fight. Devastating against the right target, but potentially vulnerable to something more maneuverable. Dr. Tanaka looked up from her console with excitement. "Captain, I'm detecting something else. There are smaller ships docked inside that massive vessel. Dozens of them. But they're not deployed. Why keep your fleet contained if you're trying to intimidate someone?" Steele's eyes widened with realization. "Because you don't want to show your actual force strength. Captain, what if that big ship isn't their entire fleet? What if it's just their mobile command base?" Rodriguez felt pieces clicking together in her mind. "They gave us 72 hours because they need time to bring in more ships. They're not negotiating from absolute strength. They're buying time to achieve it." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Lieutenant Sarah Kim at the wheel. Navigation station was the first to speak. "Captain, if they're vulnerable now, then this might be our only chance," Rodriguez finished. She activated the ship's internal communications. "All hands, this is the captain. What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but I need you to listen." Throughout the ship, crew members stopped what they were doing to listen to their captain's voice. 3 hours ago, an alien force called the Galactic Council demanded our complete surrender. They claimed to have destroyed 847 other species who refused their protection. They've given Earth 72 hours to submit or face extinction. The silence was deafening. "But we found something. Their ship is powerful, but it's designed to destroy planets, not fight other warships. And they're alone. Their main fleet isn't here yet. We have a window, maybe our only window, to show them that humanity won't go quietly into servitude." Rodriguez paused, thinking of her own daughter back on Earth, of all the children who deserve to grow up free. "I won't lie to you. If we act, we'll be starting a fight we might not survive. But if we don't act, we'll be guaranteeing a future where humanity never gets to find out what we might have become. I'm asking for volunteers only. Anyone who wants to transfer to the escape pods can do so with no shame and no judgment." She waited. The seconds stretched into a minute, then 2. Finally, Dr. Tanaka's voice came over the comm. "Captain, Science, Division reporting. We're not going anywhere." "Engineering reporting," came Chief Petty Officer Martinez's gravelly voice. "Our engines are ready for whatever you need." One by one, every department reported in. Not a single crew member requested transfer to the escape pods. Rodriguez felt a surge of pride that threatened to overwhelm her professional composure. "All right then, let's show these galactic bullies what happens when they threaten Earth." But unknown to the crew of the Defiance, they were not the only ones making preparations. Deep within the alien command ship, Hegemon Vex 9 stood before a holographic display showing the human ship's position. "Sub-Commander Kethvar," Vex 9 said to a smaller, more agile-looking alien, "the humans have a military vessel in the outer system. They believe it is hidden from our sensors. Should we destroy it, Hegemon?" Vex 9's expression was unreadable. "No. Let them think they have the advantage. When they inevitably attack, we will use their aggression as justification for the total pacification of their species. The Council prefers willing submission, but forced compliance is acceptable. And if their ship proves more capable than expected?" For the first time, Vex 9 showed something that might have been concern. "Then we will learn why 847 species chose death over our protection, and perhaps why the Zephyrians fought to their last breath, calling us the Star Devourers. In the depths of space, 2 species prepared for a confrontation that would determine the fate of humanity, and perhaps reveal truths about the Galactic Council that neither side was prepared for." The 72-hour countdown had begun, but Rodriguez suspected that the real battle would start much sooner than that. Chapter 3. The Price of Defiance. 18 hours into the countdown, Admiral Chen stood in the war room beneath Geneva, staring at intelligence reports that made her stomach churn. Dr. Webb had been working non-stop, analyzing every piece of data they could gather about the Galactic Council. The pattern is consistent across all 847 conquered species, Webb said, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. First comes the ultimatum, submit or die. Then comes a demonstration of power, usually the destruction of a moon or asteroid. Finally, compliance or extinction. But you said something was different about our situation, Chen prompted. Webb nodded grimly. The timeline. Every other species was given between 6 and 12 hours to decide. We got 72. And in every other case, the demonstration of power came within the first hour. General Harrison frowned. So why are they treating us differently? Because, came a new voice from the doorway, they're afraid of something. Everyone turned to see Dr. Amara Okafor, humanity's leading expert on xenoarchaeology, enter the room. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, her usually pristine laboratory coat stained with coffee and covered in data printouts. Dr. Okafor, Chen said with surprise. I didn't know you were part of this briefing. I wasn't, until I found something that changes everything. Okafor moved to the central display, uploading a series of archaeological images. 3 months ago, we discovered ruins on Europa, ruins that predate any known civilization in our solar system. The images showed massive stone structures buried deep in Europa's ice, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and writhe even in still photographs. We've been quietly studying them, trying to understand who built them and why. But when I heard about the Galactic Council's ultimatum, I realized something. Okafor highlighted specific symbols on the ruins. These markings, they're identical to symbols we've detected in the energy signatures of the alien command ship. The room fell deadly silent. Are you saying, Chen asked slowly, that the aliens have been to our solar system before? Not just been here. They built something here, something they left behind. Okafor's hands were shaking as she continued. But here's the truly terrifying part. According to our carbon dating, these ruins are approximately 50,000 years old. They were built during the last ice age on Earth. Dr. Webb stepped forward, his face pale. When early humans were just beginning to develop complex tool use. Exactly. And based on the architecture, the energy residues we've detected, I believe, these weren't just ruins, they were some kind of prison. A prison for what? General Harrison demanded. Okafor's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. I think for us, for humanity. The implications hit the room like a physical blow. Chen felt the world tilt beneath her feet. You're suggesting that the Galactic Council, imprisoned early humanity? Or tried to? The ruins show signs of massive damage as if something broke out from the inside. And there's something else. Okafor brought up another image, this one showing a chamber deep within the Europa ruins. We found this 3 days ago. The chamber was filled with what looked like technological artifacts, but artifacts that seemed organic, almost alive. And floating in the center, in some kind of stasis field, was a figure that was unmistakably human, but human in a way that seemed both ancient and impossibly advanced. My God, Webb breathed. Is that a human from 50,000 years ago? But look at the neural activity readings. Okafor's voice was steady now, the voice of a scientist reporting impossible facts. He's still alive, still conscious. And according to our preliminary scans, his brain activity is unlike anything we've ever recorded. The neural pathways, the quantum fluctuations, it's as if he's connected to something vast. Chen stared at the image, trying to process what she was seeing. Have you tried to revive him? We were preparing to when the aliens arrived. But Admiral, there's something else you need to know. The energy signature from this stasis chamber, it's been getting stronger over the past 3 months. Much stronger. And it's reaching toward Earth. Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Colonel Park burst into the room, his face grim. Admiral, we have a problem. The alien ship is moving. It's heading directly for Europa. Chen felt ice form in her veins. How long before they reach it? The pieces fell into place with horrible clarity. The Galactic Council hadn't come to conquer humanity. They'd come to finish something they'd started 50,000 years ago. And whatever they'd imprisoned on Europa was still there, still waiting. Get me Captain Rodriguez, Chen ordered. And Dr. Okafor, I need everything you can tell me about that chamber. If the aliens are heading for Europa, that means whatever's down there is important enough to risk a war over. As the command center erupted into activity, none of them noticed that the energy readings from Europa had just spiked dramatically. Deep beneath the ice in a chamber that had remained sealed for millennia, ancient eyes began to open. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Rodriguez received Admiral Chen's transmission with growing horror and excitement. Elena, you need to reach Europa before they do. If our theories are correct, what's down there could be humanity's salvation, or our doom. Understood, Admiral. We're changing course now. As the Defiance engaged its quantum drives and raced toward Europa, Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading toward something that would change not just humanity's future, but their understanding of their own past. Behind them, the massive alien command ship continued its relentless approach, its weapons charging for what Hegemon Vex 9 believed would be the final solution to a problem that had haunted the Galactic Council for 50,000 years. The race for Europa had begun, and with it, the true war for humanity's soul. Chapter 4. Awakening the Fire, the Defiance. Reached Europa 6 hours before the alien command ship, but Captain Rodriguez knew that wouldn't be nearly enough time. As her ship settled into orbit, around Jupiter's ice-covered moon, she could see the massive excavation site that Dr. Okafor's team had been working on for months. Captain, Dr. Tanaka called from her science station. I'm reading incredible energy spikes from beneath the surface. Whatever's down there, it's waking up. Rodriguez activated communications with the science team on Europa's surface. Dr. Okafor's face appeared on screen, her expression a mixture of terror and wonder. Captain, you need to see this. The chamber, it's completely active now. The figure inside, he's trying to communicate. Can you understand him? That's just it. He's not speaking. He's projecting, directly into our minds. Captain, I think he's been waiting for us, waiting for humanity to develop enough to free him. Rodriguez felt a chill run down her spine. Dr. Okafor, we have less than 6 hours before hostile aliens arrive at Europa. If this being can help us, we need to know now. I'm going to open the chamber, Captain. I know it's dangerous, but if the Galactic Council is willing to start a war to keep him imprisoned, do it. On Europa's frozen surface, Dr. Okafor stood before the ancient chamber with her small team of archaeologists and engineers. The stasis field hummed with power that seemed to bend reality around it. As she initiated the release sequence, the entire moon seemed to hold its breath. The field dissolved, and the figure inside drew his first breath in 50 millennia. He was tall, perhaps 7 feet, with features that were recognizably human but somehow more refined, more intense. His eyes, when they opened, burned with an inner fire that seemed to contain the light of stars. When he spoke, his voice resonated not just in the air, but in their minds. So little time has passed, he said, his words carrying accents that predated human language. Yet so much has changed. You are my descendants, but you are also something new. Who are you? Dr. Okafor asked, though she was trembling so hard she could barely stand. I am Prometheus, he said. And somehow they understood that this was not just a name but a title, a burden. I am the Firebringer, and I have been waiting for you to become strong enough to face what comes next. On the bridge of the Defiance, Rodriguez watched the readings from Europa with amazement. The energy signatures were off the charts, but they weren't chaotic. They were organized, purposeful. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Steele called out. The alien command ship is accelerating. They'll be here in 4 hours. And they're powering weapons, Dr. Tanaka added. It looks like they intend to destroy the entire moon. Rodriguez made her decision. All hands, this is the captain. We're going to buy Dr. Okafor's team as much time as possible. Prepare for combat. Deep within Europa, Prometheus placed his hand on Dr. Okafor's forehead, and suddenly she could see, really see, what had happened 50,000 years ago. The Galactic Council calls themselves the Guardians of Peace. Prometheus's voice echoed in her mind. But they are gardeners of a different sort. They prune civilizations, preventing any species from growing beyond their control. In her vision, Okafor saw the early human tribes, saw their potential for something greater than the Council had ever encountered. She saw the Council's attempts to limit human development, to keep them primitive and manageable. But we were different, Prometheus continued. We had something they had never encountered before, the ability to adapt, to overcome, to carry fire even in the darkest places. So they tried to remove us, to edit us out of human development. But you escaped. Some of us. I volunteered. To remain, to wait, to be here when humanity was ready to face the choice that has defined our species from the beginning. What choice? Prometheus smiled, and it was like watching a star being born. The choice between safety and freedom, between submission and fire. Above them, space erupted into violence as the Defiance engaged the alien command ship. The human vessel was fast and agile, dancing around the massive enemy ship like a bee around a bear. But Rodriguez knew they couldn't win through conventional means. This is hopeless, Steele called out as another alien energy beam barely missed their hull. They're too powerful. Then we don't fight conventionally, Rodriguez replied. She opened a channel to Europa. Dr. Okafor, whatever you're doing down there, we need it now. On Europa's surface, Prometheus stood and walked to the chamber's exit. As he moved, the ancient ruins around him began to glow with renewed life. The Council made one error in their calculations, he told Dr. Okafor. They assumed that fire, once contained, could be controlled. They never understood that fire spreads. He reached out his hand, and Okafor took it. Immediately, she felt power flowing through her. Not alien power, but something fundamentally human. Something that had been sleeping in the human genome for millennia. What's happening to me? You are remembering who you really are, who humanity really is. Prometheus looked up at the stars, where the battle raged above them. The Council has spent 50,000 years convincing themselves and the galaxy that they destroyed the humans who dared to defy them. They're about to learn that they only succeeded in making us stronger. On the Defiance, Dr. Tanaka's console exploded with readings as energy began streaming up from Europa's surface. Captain, I'm detecting massive power surges from the moon. It's like the entire moon is becoming some kind of transmission array. Transmission to where? Before Tanaka could answer, Rodriguez felt something change inside her mind. Suddenly, she could sense her crew not just as individuals but as a connected whole. She could feel their fear, their determination, their willingness to die for something greater than themselves. And she could feel something else, a presence that had been sleeping in humanity's collective unconscious, waking up after 50,000 years of slumber. All ships in the solar system, she heard herself saying, though she wasn't sure where. The words were coming from, "This is Captain Rodriguez of the Defiance. The Galactic Council claims to be our protectors, but they are our jailers. They have spent millennia keeping us small, keeping us afraid, keeping us from becoming what we were meant to be." Throughout human space, on ships and stations and colonies, people felt something stir in their blood. The fire that Prometheus had spoken of, the fire that the Council had tried so hard to extinguish, began to burn bright. Today, we choose fire over safety. Today, we choose to be human. The alien command ship suddenly found itself facing not just one human vessel, but dozens. Ships that had been on patrol duty, mining operations, even civilian transports, all of them converging on Europa with a determination that Hegemon Vex 9 had never encountered in 847 previous conquests. But more than that, the humans themselves were changing. The connection that Prometheus had awakened was spreading, linking human consciousness across space, creating something that was greater than the sum of its parts. For the first time in 50,000 years, Hegemon Vex 9 felt something, approaching fear, All ships, he commanded his fleet. Destroy them all. The experiment ends here. The real battle for humanity's future was about to begin. Epilogue. The fire spreads. 6 months after the Battle of Europa, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of humanity's newest space station, watching the construction of vessels unlike any ever built. The ships being assembled in Earth's orbital shipyards combined human ingenuity with the ancient knowledge that Prometheus had helped them unlock, not alien technology, but human potential that had been sleeping for 50 millennia. The Council's response? She asked Dr. Webb, who approached with the latest intelligence reports. Complete communications blackout from their territory, but our long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements. They're scared, Admiral. For the first time in their recorded history, a species didn't just resist them, we drove them off. Chen nodded, remembering the final moments of the battle at Europa. The Galactic Council's command ship had been formidable, but when humanity's awakened consciousness had linked every human ship into a coordinated whole, when their crews had begun operating with the kind of instinctive coordination that defied explanation, the aliens had faced something they'd never encountered before, a species that grew stronger under pressure instead of weaker. Any word from the other systems? That's the interesting part, Webb said with a grin. Remember those 847 species the Council claimed to have destroyed? It turns out some of them weren't quite as extinct as advertised. The Zephyrians have been hiding in deep space for 300 years, rebuilding. The Karathi Collective maintained a secret colony on the edge of the galaxy, and they're all asking the same question, which is, how did humanity break free from the Council's control, and can they learn to do the same? Chen smiled. The fire that Prometheus had spoken of was indeed spreading. Across the galaxy, species that had submitted to the Council's protection were beginning to remember what they had given up in exchange for safety. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the station's communication system. Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from the outer colonies. The exploration fleet has found something. Chen made her way to the communications center, where a holographic display showed Captain Martinez of the exploration vessel, Pioneer. Behind her, the view screen showed something that made Chen's breath catch. Admiral, you need to see this. We've found a Galactic Council facility, but it's not what we expected. The image shifted to show vast chambers filled with what looked like storage containers, thousands upon thousands of them stretching into the distance. These aren't weapons or ships, Martinez continued. They're archives, genetic archives. We think they contain samples from every species the Council has ever encountered, including several variants of humanity. Variants? Admiral, we weren't the first humans to evolve. The Council has been manipulating human development for millions of years, creating different branches of humanity and then editing them out of existence when they became too independent. But they kept samples. Chen felt the implications hit her like a physical blow. How many? 17 distinct human subspecies that we've identified so far. Each one adapted for different environments, different challenges. Admiral, I think, the Council wasn't just trying to control us. They were trying to create the perfect version of humanity for their purposes. Dr. Okafor's voice joined the transmission from her research station on Europa. Admiral, Prometheus wants to speak with you. The ancient human's image appeared on the display, his eyes still burning with that inner fire that had awakened humanity's true potential. Admiral Chen, what your explorers have found is both our history and our future. The Council has spent millions of years trying to create servants, but they accidentally created something else. What? A species with unlimited potential for growth, for adaptation, for transcendence. They thought they were gardening us, but they were actually forging us. Every time they thought they had destroyed us, they were actually making us stronger. Chen looked around at the faces of her staff, humans who 6 months ago had been on the verge of surrendering to alien masters, and who now stood ready to challenge an empire that had ruled the galaxy for eons. What happens now? Prometheus's smile was like the dawn of a new age. Now, Admiral, we do what humans have always done when faced with the impossible. We adapt, we overcome, and we carry the fire to places it has never burned before. Across the galaxy, in the halls of the Galactic Council, Hegemon Vex 9 stood before the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds. The report he was about to deliver would shatter their understanding of their own history. The humans have not only resisted assimilation, he began, his voice heavy with implications. They have awakened something that we believed we had successfully contained. Our projections suggest that within 50 cycles they will have spread their influence to most of the outer systems. The chamber erupted in alarmed chatter. The Altanian representative leaned forward. Are you suggesting that these primitives pose a threat to our empire? I am suggesting, Vex 9 replied, that they are no longer primitives. The experiments we conducted on their species over the past million cycles appear to have had unintended consequences. We attempted to create the perfect servant species. Instead, we appear to have created our replacement. In the depths of space, on ships and stations across human territory, people felt the fire that Prometheus had rekindled burning brighter. They were no longer just surviving. They were becoming something new, something that the galaxy had never seen before. And at the edge of Galactic Council space, the first human exploration ships were already crossing the boundary, carrying, with them not conquest or destruction, but something far more dangerous to an empire built on control. The idea that every species had the right to choose its own destiny. The Galactic Council had wanted obedience from humanity. Instead, humanity had given them fire, and fire spreads. The end,